I give it everything I got. On this podcast, I give you my heart. It's just the way that they took a look at it. Maybe that's the way they had to do it. But for me, I just pour it. I just pour the coals on. This show I do is not just a flippant, let me do an interview for an hour for you. I mean it. We're trying to change the world, do some good stuff. And, I don't have to sit in a room with bars on it because I got something to do. Don't let them get bored. You'll start thinking that damn Piper, and then next thing you know, and then, RowdyRowdyPiper.com website. I hate websites, man. I try to get them to get it straight. I look at them, I say, no, that's wrong. This is wrong. But you go to RowdyRowdyPiper.com website now, and we're getting it right. And, I've got a soda pop out, all out of bubble gum. It's out, get this, my one soda pop is outselling all the other celebrity soda pops at Rocket Fizz combined. And that's because of you. And you can also, if you can't find it at Rocket Fizz or Bevmo, you can order it off my website and RowdyRowdyPiper.com, or new Villain t-shirts, Hot Rod t-shirts. The new Panther, I finally found it. It was just a shirt I wore a long time ago, and a lot of requests for it, and finally we found the Panther, and you'll see what else is on. And what I'm doing is they're putting a little autograph on, because listen, there's so many people bootlegging stuff out there. There's only one authentic one. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put my signature on it. You got anybody else putting my signature on a t-shirt, then I'm going to deal with them personally. So you go to RowdyRowdyPiper.com and get what you need. I've got, my life goes so fast. I got my Piper's Pit crew, these little crew of guys and gal. I love them to death. They try to follow me around, and they got me on this Instagram. Like I was doing an Oscar Wilde one day, the next day I'm talking to the Prime Minister of Aruba, of which I'm an ambassador there. Boom. And so, you follow me on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is Real Roddy Piper. Facebook is facebook.com/Real Roddy Piper. Twitter, R_Roddy_Piper. Piper, not the I. I did Welcome to Frogtown. I hope you've never seen it, but probably you have. And here's just a little inside scoop. So I'm sitting in the chair, and I'm the last potent male in the world, and I got to repopulate the earth after the Armageddon, and the nurse, Sandra Bergman, and I have a little chastity belt on, right? And so I'm supposed to sign a contract. My name's Sam Hell, and so they give me the contract, and I sign it, I'm doing the scene, and boom, and I dot the I, and wait a second. There's no I in Sam Hell. I wrote Roddy Piper. Okay. Little things Rod does. So, stuff to do, stuff to see. This show I take real serious, and the guests that I have on are only the best. I got to just get to it. He is, without a doubt, one of my favorite men. This is a man's man. He's done it all. I've known him for years. I have so much respect for him, and he's always standing up for people like me, the little guy, the guy that's a lone wolf. He has his own show called We the People. He's here on the podcast One Family, and if you don't want to know the answer to the question, then don't ask this gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the one and the only, the Gov, Jesse Ventura.
Hey, Rod.
Hey.
First of all, Roddy, I want to apologize. I was supposed to be on with you earlier, and I got sick. I thought I had Ebola, for cripe's sake.
Well, you're the only guy I know that could beat it.
Well, it was one of those. It happened last week, and I'm sure you've been through it too. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and of course I had nothing in my stomach, so I got to do some dry heaving at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then, Roddy, it was like clockwork. 3, 6, 9, and noon.
Oh.
I could have set my watch by when I was going to throw up.
No, you did.
Yeah, but then at noon it quit, and then I started feeling a little better, and I started taking some liquids. But I was supposed to interview with you that day at about 5 o'clock, and I called. I said, "Tell Roddy we got to postpone it." I said, "I can't do nothing today." I said, "I got to get myself back after this episode." So,
I'm glad.
Just a run of a little, I guess the flu or whatever was going around. I know that my mother-in-law had it, and then I got it, and
gotcha.
it only lasted about 24 hours, which was good.
Listen, you're a man's man. I'm glad, and I'm glad you're better.
Well, the good thing about it is, Roddy, you don't eat nothing for 24 hours, and I've been trying to lose weight, so that sure helped. You know, I was on strictly water for 24 hours.
It's like, you know, you remind me of the time every once in a while, Jesse and I would what they call heal a room, you know, which means like, you know, I'll go and say, you know, just for one but 2 beds, and you know, and we split it. This is way back in the day, and Jesse would say, "Piper's a great guy to heal a room with. He never comes home."
There were a few guys like that you could split a room with, and you'd have it all to yourself.
Yeah, you know, it's a hell of a deal. Holy cow! I'm so glad that you called and that you're here.
Great to be here.
Thanks.
Great to be here.
Thanks.
I'm doing this in between 9 holes, you know.
You are. I love it.
I'm at the golf course right now. I had him call here because it's one of the rare. I'm in Minnesota right now, and it's getting cold, but today it's beautiful. It's warm out, so I thought I'd get 9 in. Then then I'm with you, and then I'll go back out and finish my 9, and then go home for dinner.
I love you so much. You can't talk about a guy that does what he wants to do. He fits it in. You know, Jesse, just picking it up from the early part of your life. You were born in Minnesota, were you?
Yeah, I was born in South Minneapolis. I was born, if anyone that's been to Minnesota and knows Minneapolis at all, there's a street called Lake Street that runs straight east to west and really dissects Minneapolis right in half. I was born about 2 to 3 blocks from the Lake Street Bridge, which is the big bridge that goes across the Mississippi into St. Paul. So I was born South Minneapolis right by the Lake Street Bridge.
Nice. And what school did you go to?
I went to Cooper Grade School, Sanford Junior High, and Minneapolis Roosevelt High School. And if I can brag for a moment, yes. Roddy, a month ago they did their first induction at Roosevelt High School of the Hall of Fame, and I was honored with that. It's one of the greatest awards I think I could have ever received, to be inducted into the first class of Minneapolis Roosevelt High School Hall of Fame. And it was very interesting because not only did they have me, a former governor, we now refer to Roosevelt High School course as Governor Prep School. Because I had no further education. That's as far as I went, was high school. So they prepared me to be governor. So it's Governor Prep School, but also inducted in. We had a Nobel Prize winner for science.
Really?
Yes, as well as an Olympic gold medalist, Mike Ramsey. And if you recall, back in 1980, Mike was a member of the Miracle on 80 team that beat the Soviets.
Yes.
Yep. Mike Ramsey went to my high school too. He's class of 78. I'm class of 69. And so it was kind of interesting. Plus, we had, I think, 3 or 4 admirals, and Vesey, the former head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also went to Roosevelt and was inducted into the Hall of Fame that night.
Holy cow! You don't do nothing little, do you? You don't do nothing little.
Well, you know, this was just a matter of what you did after you graduated, really. And, they basically said I'm probably the most well-known student ever to come out of Roosevelt High School, be it good or bad, I guess.
It'd be good.
But it was a great honor, Roddy, and I told them that night when I accepted, because I said, this is truly from the neighborhood. This is your peers that you grew up with, and to be inducted into your high school Hall of Fame, I don't think there's anything that I could be given an award that is any more meaningful or heartful to me.
That's well said, because they know everything about you. They watched you and you watched each other grow up, and if you weren't deserving, you wouldn't have got it.
Well, and the good thing is, I was very fortunate growing up, Roddy, that I was a latchkey kid. My mom and dad both worked. So, usually I went off to school, they were already gone to work, and when I'd get home, they weren't home yet. But that was a good thing. Because if you got home quick and changed clothes, you could go back to the playground then, and then you didn't have to come home till dinner.
Gotcha.
So it was good having the parents not at home when you got home, because then you could bail out quick. But anyway, I was fortunate because I lived in the same house for 18 years, all the way till I graduated and went into the United States Navy. And so, that was the only place I lived for 18 years. And then after I graduated, my parents moved to the suburbs closer to my mom's work. But, and I was gone in the Navy at that time.
Now, did you know, did you know like Hawk and Animal and Kurt Hennig from Robbinsdale at that time?
No, well, I knew them later, but they're a generation behind me.
Gotcha.
They're a generation. They're probably 8 to 10 years younger than me, and so they'd be a full generation behind me. I met them later when I opened my gym in the North Minneapolis. They all worked out at my gym then, and then ironically, I went to New York to wrestle in '81, and when I came for Vince Senior, when I came back, geez, all these guys were in the business then.
Yeah, no kidding. Like Robbinsdale took over for a second.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of great wrestlers from Robbinsdale. Rick Rude,
yes,
Kurt Hennig, Laurinaitis and Hegstrand, the Road Warriors. There's a whole ton of them from that part of town, and as well as if you want to go way back, Vern Gagne's from Robbinsdale.
Vern's from Robbinsdale.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah, Vern Gagne's from Robbinsdale, so you can go way back. And Robbinsdale had quite a tradition of putting on a lot of wrestlers.
Yeah, I heard a story.
And now it doesn't even exist, Roddy. Robbinsdale High School's gone.
It's gone. Where'd it go?
Yeah, it don't even exist anymore. It got closed down a number of years ago, and it's not even around anymore.
Was it a rough neighborhood or middle class?
Robbinsdale? No, that was suburbs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that was a first wing. Robbinsdale's a first wing suburb of northwest Minneapolis up there.
Nice.
I grew up in South Minneapolis. This would be across the other side of town, to downtown the other way.
Okay, I just remember like the Dykeman Hotel and.
Yeah, that was downtown. The Dykeman was right downtown, and the old 7th Street Gym on 7th and Hennepin.
There you go, Hennepin. Yeah, and
which you know what that turned into later?
No.
Oh, the 7th Street Gym ended up turning into a gay massage parlor. So, I don't care.
You're killing me.
It's kind of funny to watch as you get older like we are now, to go back and look at how things have changed since the days you were a teenager or younger than what you are now.
No, a gay massage. I love it. So Jesse, then when you got out of high school, were you set and bent on going into the Navy? Had you already made that decision, or how did?
Not really. In fact, I'd kind of gotten screwed over on a swimming scholarship to Northern Illinois. And it didn't come through for me, so I kind of got depressed a little bit and said, the hell with college. I was actually accepted to go swim up at Bemidji State, and then I withdrew and went down and joined the Navy because I thought, you know what, the Navy will let me swim and they'll pay me for it, about $500 a month.
There you go. That's
$500 a month, and you can swim in the ocean all you want as a Navy frogman. You'll be out there, you'll be swimming to your heart's content.
I bet you before you actually went in, that sounded great. After, I bet you have done some swimming, Jesse.
I was happy, Roddy, because, a lot of people, I was in pro wrestling, but in high school I was not a wrestler. I was a swimmer. I played football and I swam, with swimming being my strongest sport. I set 2 Roosevelt High School records and 2 District 17 records as a swimmer, and so it prepared me well, because when I went into UDT SEAL training, one of the day's evolutions you have to do is a 5-mile ocean swim.
Holy cow.
So it prepared me well for it, because the swimming was the easiest part for me personally, because I was a strong swimmer.
Now, my son Colt, in his first day of high school, there's like the wrestling coach and the football coach, and they're all drooling, and Colt looks and he says, no, I think I'm going to swim and take choir. That's my boy. That's what the girls are. And so he started playing water polo. And of course, Dad, I want to see him. Holy cow, you guys don't mess around.
Oh, no, swimming is a very, very difficult sport. I mean, and water polo likewise. That's hockey in the water.
That's hockey in the water.
And and the water's liquid instead of being frozen. So, no, you got to be a strong, strong swimmer to be a water polo player.
Yeah.
And you know, you do. And I don't regret it, Roddy, because swimming is something that will be beneficial to you your entire life. I mean, I'll give you a great story. When I was a few years back, when I was about 40 years old, I took my kids on vacation to Hawaii for 3 weeks. And I'll always remember it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I think Dallas was in the Super Bowl then. It was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that day, though, the headlines in Waikiki were 23-footers coming in at Waimea today.
Ooh.
So I said, to hell with the Super Bowl. You can see Super Bowls every year. I loaded the kids up and the wife, and we drove up to the North Shore because I had never been in 23-foot waves before.
I can't imagine. What was it like?
Well, we got up there, and it was an interesting story because we were walking and looking at them in Waimea Bay, and I just turned to my wife, and I said, I got to go. And she looked at me, and she said, you got to go what? I said, I got to go out there. She said, are you crazy? You're going out there? I said, I have to. I said, I've never been in waves that big. I'm a Navy frogman. I'm going out there. And so I went out and body surfed 23-foot waves in Waimea Bay that day.
Holy, what
and
was
all I did, I went out, I got under them, got 2 sets out, caught one, came in, and got the hell out of there, and walked in. I said to my wife, okay, I'm happy now.
You done it.
Yeah, I did.
I love it.
And I had never, all the swimming I did in the Navy, and I've been in a lot of surf zones, Roddy, never had I been in 23-foot waves before. And I'll tell you, talk about a pucker factor. It's a real good one, When that wave's coming in on you, you got to go down and eat sand.
Ooh.
Because the way you go through waves is go to the bottom. Gotcha. And then you'll feel the wave pass over the top. Then you got to come up and get air and swim as hard as you can. And about then, the next one's coming. You got to dive down to the bottom again.
Pucker power.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I got to take a break. We'll be right back with the Gov, Jesse Ventura. Ow! Yeehaw! Yeah. Gotta love them bagpipes. That's a war instrument. Bagpipes are a war instrument. All these tunes are like flank left, flank right, retreat. They don't retreat often. Charge. We're with the Gov, Jesse Ventura, who's another man that does not retreat.
Today he would.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I do.
So
today I'd retreat.
Yeah. So boom, you go into the Navy, and like just the fact that you became a Navy SEAL, everybody has the ultimate respect for that.
Well, it's everybody in the military has an important job to do, and many people are made to do different things. I was a very powerful swimmer. I've always been physical and all that, so it was natural for me to be. And plus, I knew how to scuba dive since I was 13 years old.
Where'd you start that?
In Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. I was scuba diving here when I was 13. I already had my NAUI card and everything.
Holy cow!
So it was a natural thing, Roddy, for me to do to be a frog man.
Gotcha. So you come out of the SEALs. What year did they allow you out?
Well, I got out. I went in, and ironically, I enlisted September the 11th of 1969.
Okay.
And then I was discharged December of 73 off of active duty.
Yeah.
And I still had roughly a year and a half, 2 years of reserves to do. And so I got out of the Navy December of 73, and that's when I started growing my hair out. But here will be the great tie-in, Roddy.
Yeah.
Right before I was getting out, and I had never had long hair because I was in the Navy,
Sure.
After high school and the hippies and all that. I didn't get to grow my hair out or do any of that because they do inspect you in the service.
Just a tad.
Yeah, and you got to have haircuts. So when I got out of the Navy, I came home. I wanted to get out So I took 30 days leave in November because I knew I was getting out the first week of December.
Yeah.
So I came home for 30 days to let my hair grow out, and then I'd come back and have 7 days to process out and then get out. And then I found out you could use Dippity-Doo. Remember Dippity-Doo?
I remember Dippity-Doo.
Well, that would flatten your hair down and make it look like it was nice and short. So I learned that. So I went back out there with Dippity-Dooed hair for about a week and managed to get out of the Navy. But while I was home on leave, one night my buddies were all busy. I had nothing to do, and of course you got money when you're home on leave. There was wrestling down at the Minneapolis Auditorium.
Okay. What year? What year?
This was 1973 November.
Holy cow.
And I was pumping iron then, so I was up to about 230 pounds because I started training hard with weights my last year in the Navy.
Gotcha.
And so I went down to wrestling that night by myself, and I'll never forget, I went up to the booth and I said, "Give me the best seat you got." And the lady said, "Are you alone?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I got one in the front row."
There you go.
So she sold me a seat right in the front row, and so I went out there. And I'd been a fan as a kid. You know, I'd seen the Crusher and Mad Dog and all them growing up.
They're great.
And so I was sitting in the front row, and who walked out that night? And it was that night that I made the decision: I'm going to be a professional wrestler. Because who walked out that night? Superstar Billy Graham. And it was the first time I had ever laid eyes on Superstar Billy Graham, the whole persona, the tie-dye, the 22-inch pipes, the whole thing. And, and I was training then, and, I was up to about 18-inch arm then.
Yeah.
Because I remember Graham came out and actually looked at me in the front row.
Because that's a big arm.
I caught his eye a little bit,
Yeah.
And but I watched Graham that night, and then when I came back from the service, I went to college, junior college, for 1 year on the GI Bill, and what I did is I got very interested in theater. I actually did Aristophanes the Birds, a Greek comedy in college.
Really?
And a lot of people don't know that, but that's when I truly made the decision, because I thought about trying to play football, but I thought, wait a minute, wrestling's better. Wrestling allows me to do theater and still be an athlete.
Yes.
It combines them both, two things that I love, theater and being an athlete, and wrestling did both of them. So I sent Vern Gagne a letter, and he wasn't running a school at the time, and so he turned me down. Yeah. And then I met Eddie Sharkey down at the
Eddie Sharkey.
And
the bullets
Eddie says, I'll train you. So it cost me $500, 3 nights a week with a full membership at the 7th Street Gym, and I trained with Eddie for 7 months, and then sent my pictures out, and Kansas City called, and I left school then, went down to Kansas City, and had my first match at the Wichita 2 Century 2 Auditorium in Wichita. And here's the ironic thing of my career, Roddy. The first match I ever had was against a guy named Omar Atlas. You remember Omar Atlas?
Yes, I do. Airplane spin.
Yep. Well, I got disqualified, right? My first match. I was the villain. Yeah. And my last match, the last match I got in the ring was in Winnipeg, Canada, with Tony Atlas. So I figured I started with an Atlas, I should finish with an Atlas. And that's what I did. My first match was with Omar Atlas. My last match was with Tony Atlas.
I love that. I remember now. So, I was actually wrestling, coming up and doing TV in Minneapolis, and 71 to, and I wrestled Billy Graham. Our first guy was Larry Henning. That one lasted 10 seconds. And
you wrestled the Axe?
Oh, that was my very first match.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Heenan used to, because the Axe, me and Adrian worked with the Axe quite a bit, him and Kurt, Axe teamed up with Kurt, and me and Adrian would beat the crap out of Kurt.
Sure.
And then, of course, Larry'd make the big comeback, and he'd throw me and give me the Axe. Heenan used to always say to me, doesn't he ever potato you with that? And I said, never.
Nah.
I said, Larry Hennig has never hit. And he says, Jesus, he does everybody else.
Well,
I said, he hasn't me, so as long as he doesn't, I'll keep taking it.
There you go. And then my next match was, we used to drive from Winnipeg all night, 500 miles, and it was I can only remember the door being so heavy to open, and it was a studio wrestling, and we would walk downstairs. We were downstairs in the kind of a basement, and it was with superstar Billy Graham, which I think went 9 seconds. And on the way down, he looked like I'm 167
Roddy,
pounds.
what did you weigh at that time?
167 pounds.
No kidding?
No kidding. I was 15 years old.
And you were in the ring with Graham?
Oh, yeah. I was,
Oh, my God. It must have looked like a father beating up his son.
It was brutal. And then he had the nerve to say to me, like, he was trying to make me feel good, Billy was, and he says, listen, you know, I was a little short of time or I would have given you more. My ass, you would have. You know? And I don't blame you. And then I just kept on going. Holy cow! Anyway,
unbelievable. Well, you got into the wrestling game at too young of an age, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Did some damage to Rod.
Well, no, that's far too young. Like I said, and I'm going to tell the story again because I love it. It's one I'll always remember. When you and I don't remember if it was Orton or who was with us.
Yeah.
But the time we actually ate real Kentucky Fried Chicken.
There you go.
Remember, we went, and this was in Kentucky, and we were all totally stumped because it tasted the same.
Yep.
You know, whether you got it in New Jersey or whether you got it in Iowa, it tasted the same. And here we were so excited because we thought we're going to get authentic Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We were so happy. And then what is this?
It tastes the same. I figured in Kentucky they'd add at least one more herb or spice to it. You know?
So I remember when now you're in the WWF, and one of the things that is, in my humble opinion, that's never really been touched, is your perspective as a color commentator. You just, when you got there and Vince, you had yourself and Vince, and you had a very unique perspective that the people fell in love with you. And they loved you. And I'll tell you in a second why, but I want to know, where were you? It's just Jesse? Or where were you coming from when you knew you had to be with Vince and do that job?
Remember, I had that pulmonary emboli, blood clots in my lungs.
I remember.
The night before I was to go with Hogan in L.A., and I was going all around with him in a 3-match program around the country.
Yes.
And I got hit with massive blood clots. It was critical for 7 days at the Sharp Cabrillo Hospital in San Diego. Roddy, I didn't know if I'd live.
Weren't you with Adrian when you went down?
No, I was with Big John Studd.
Big John Studd, gotcha.
Yeah, it was John and I told John I wasn't feeling good, and I wasn't going to go to the gym. I was going to nap, and I woke up and my bed was drenched in sweat. I couldn't breathe. So I jumped in my rental car, and I drove 2 blocks to the Sharp Cabrillo Hospital, walked in the emergency room. I thought I had a reoccurrence of pneumonia because I'd had pneumonia a few years earlier. And they did arterial blood, and an athlete like you and I should be running above 90% oxygen in arterial blood. I was down at 70.
Holy cow.
And that's when the guy told me, sit in the chair, I don't want you to move. And he was a former Marine. And I said, look, you know, I'm a former CO, you're a Marine. What's going on here?
Yeah.
He said, I think you got blood clots in the lung. I go, what? I'd never even heard of it before. People are susceptible from a lot of flying. Yes. And that month I had flown 28 days. You remember what it was like. We were on planes every day. And so anyway, what happened then, while I was convalescing, because it knocked me out of wrestling and I had to go on blood thinners for a while, I couldn't come back right away. But you know, I'll state this about Vince McMahon. He paid me while I was out, and he didn't have to.
Really?
Yeah, he gave me $1,000 a week while I was out.
Gotcha. Credit where credit's
due. And I'll always have a place in my heart for him for that, because he didn't have to do that. There were no rules that said he did. He could have cast me aside and said, "To hell with Jesse Ventura, I'm moving on." But he paid me. Well, then he figured he ought to get his money's worth, because a couple months had gone by, and then he called me one day, Roddy, and he said, I was in good shape now. I was getting back in shape, and subsequently I did get back in the ring again. But then he called me, and I'll never forget. He said, "Jesse." Vince, how he talks, Jesse, Vince. And I said, "Yeah, Vinny, what's up?" He said, "I got an idea." And I give all the credit to him because it was his idea, Roddy, not mine. Completely Vince's. Vince says, I have an idea. He said, do you think you could do color commentating on the mic? And I said, easy, Vince. I said, interviews are my strongest thing.
Sure.
I said, sure, I could do it. He said, he says, I want to try something. He said, there's never been a heel. There's never been a bad guy on the microphone. Yeah. It's always baby faces. He says, I want to try putting a heel on the mic. He said, you up for it? I said, absolutely. Gotcha. And I'll never forget when I got there, here's what my marching orders were from Vince. Vince came up to me the first night I'm with Monsoon and I'm going to do it. And he says, Jesse, here's the attitude I want you to have. I said, what do you want, Vince? He goes, if you believe it, it's true.
There you go.
So in other words, he took the handcuffs off me. He said, fly with it. And I'll never forget the one I had the most fun with, and you'll remember it well because we did a program and ended up where I came out of the booth and wrestled with you and then went back to the booth. Remember when we did that? Yeah. And I said, I'm the only announcer in the world who wrestles and then announcers too. You don't see football guys doing that or nothing. And but I'll never forget the most fun I ever had. Remember when Uncle Elmer got married?
I had. Does anybody have anything to say? I had to come out, and you know who I had to go by? I had to come out of this curtain and go. I interrupt or whatever you say, and it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Excuse me, Arnold. I have to interrupt the wedding.
Anyway, though, that night Vince comes up to me. And the wedding was legit. People don't realize the wedding had to be legit because the New Jersey Athletic Commission wouldn't allow it to be a put-on.
That's right.
So it had to be real. That was a real justice judge in the ring, and Uncle Elmer legitimately married his wife. But Vince comes up to me that night and he goes, Jesse, when the wedding takes place, he says, I want you to bury him. And I looked at Vince. I said, really? He said, yup, bury him. I said, okay. And so I'll never forget Bill Murray was apparently watching on TV, and he sent a message to me after that night. He said it was the greatest live line he'd ever heard. And coming from Bill Murray, that's a great compliment.
That's pretty good. But
it was right when they got to the tender moment of kissing the bride, when Uncle Elmer kissed his bride. Yes. And I turned to McMahon. I says, McMahon, I said, that looks like two carp in the middle of the Mississippi River going after the same piece of corn.
I remember that. I got to take a break. We'll be right back. Two carbs kissing in the river. Holy baby Jesus. Yes. You're coming back. I love you so much, man. And Uncle Elmer's wedding did not have bagpipes. Just two carps kissing it. So now, holy cow, I remember this. I remember you and Vincent getting into an argument. And I remember your line. It's a hell of a line saying, you don't scare me. I've been under fire. Do you remember that?
I don't remember offhand, but Vince and I, was this a shoot? Were we legitimately butting heads?
Yeah, you were. It was over, just to keep it general. I think Coliseum videos, and there was a whatever it was. Vince, he really tried to strong arm you pretty hard, but I said, Vince, come on. I said, you're not going to intimidate me. You may intimidate some people, but you'll never intimidate me. I've been through too much in my life to be. But here's the thing. Maybe you don't know this, Jesse, that when you decided to part ways, it made my life a living hell. Okay, buddy? I need to talk to you just one-on-one.
Well, I apologize. I didn't mean to do that.
Because Vince called me.
That wasn't part of the program.
I got you. Because Vince, you had such a following, and they loved you so much. When you decided to go your way, Vince kept calling me to come and do the color with them.
Yeah.
And I kept going, no, I don't want to. And because there was nobody that could replace you.
You know what was funny about that, too? WCW then signed me to a huge deal down there. Huge.
Yeah.
You know, and all I had to do was broadcast. I didn't have to get in the ring. I didn't have to do nothing. And I got a 3-year guaranteed deal. I forget for how much money, but it was wonderful. And I remember word came from Vince. He put it out. He said, "Well, Jesse Ventura must be broke." And you know what I responded back with? No, you know what I responded back with?
No.
I said, "Well, I'm not broke, but I'll tell you what, after signing this contract, rest assured I'm not broke."
But now I got a check from the WWF, and it had in it a paper with a sum of money that had to be paid to Jesse Ventura for just allegedly for because they hadn't taken care of that piece of talent on Coliseum videos, and other talent was being taken care of, whether it was overlooked or whatever. But I know that because they put it in everybody's check, kind of like, see, we're not afraid of anybody, so if you want to give it a try, go ahead. Did you know that?
Well, no, not at all. What happened was, see, I never signed a contract with Vince.
Gotcha.
I never. He overlooked me. I never. Remember how he made everybody sign those contracts? I never signed one.
I held out, and
Yep.
1 week before WrestleMania, in some warehouse, it was a 1-page, and he puts it down. He says, "Hot Rod, I can't have you in WrestleMania unless you sign this."
Yep.
Really?
See, he never, Roddy. He never did that with me. He missed out, and then by the time I left, I had never signed a contract. And then, of course, I then took him to court over the Coliseum video, because I was on over 99 tapes. And you know as well as I do, when you do something in Hollywood under the Screen Actors Guild, you get royalties.
That's right.
I mean, I still get paid for Predator. I laugh about it. I still get Predator royalties, and it's been 25, 30 years, and I'm still getting them. And I brought it up with Vince. I said, "Vince, how come Hollywood pays me royalties and you don't?"
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, we had it out over that. I fought with him over. I says, "What the hell? How come?" And Vince goes, "Oh, I don't pay." Well, anyway, when I brought the lawsuit, Vince could have beaten me easily in that lawsuit, but during discovery, every time I negotiated with him, even when I had Barry Bloom representing me, Vince would always state, "I don't pay royalties." Well, in discovery, we found out that wasn't true. That Hogan was getting royalties, Mr. T got royalties, Cyndi Lauper got royalties. All of the mainstream entertainers, except for Hulk, got royalties. And that's what put it over the top, the court case, because that's called quantum merit. When you sit down to negotiate, you assume the other side is being truthful. Well, Vince lied. Vince kept saying, "I don't pay royalties," and we discovered and proved in court that yes, he did. So what happened was, when I went to WCW, I pre-negotiated a royalty fee with them. If anything of me was on, and so what the jury did, they took that negotiated number and applied it to Vince. Because there I was given a chance to negotiate, and that's when I think it was 3% or something like that. It's something on that order, and I get paid. I call it my wrestling retirement, because I'll tell it to you this way, Roddy. I don't know how much money Vince has made, but I'll tell you. I'll just state this to you. I get paid quarterly by him.
Yes.
Even today, and I'll just state this: the last quarterly check I got was $36,000.
Cow, really?
Yeah, and that's today. This is 24 years after I left him, and 23 years or 2 years, whatever it is, since the trial.
Baby Jesus. You see, I don't get royalties.
See, I call it my wrestling retirement.
There you go.
I'll put it to you this way, Roddy. I've made off that lawsuit millions of dollars from Vince McMahon.
You know, they had a sum of money that they said that they settled for, and it was put in my check. I just assumed everybody else's, just kind of as here, look.
He never settled because the jury awarded me.
Gotcha.
And in fact, Vince took it all the way to the United States Supreme Court.
Gotcha.
Okay. Oh, and you'll love this story. He calls me up after all the trial's over. It's gone through everything. And he calls me up and he's screaming at me on the phone. He's going, "That was my money. That was my money." And I calmly said to him, I said, no, Vince.
No.
I said, the jury said it was my money. The federal judge said it was my money. The 8th District Court of Appeals said it was my money. And the Supreme Court of the United States said it was my money. I think you have a minority opinion.
What did he say?
He calmed down a little after that. I said, come on, Vince. You got to live in the real world here.
Yeah.
You know, you were wrong. I beat you. And actually, we get along better today than we did then.
I remember he came to Minnesota with when you were the gov, and with the governor, and Vince went to shake hands, and you gave him the and you said, "I'm the boss here." You don't remember that?
I just gave him shit. That was working.
I gotcha.
That was working. Because one time, I'll give you another behind-the-scenes funny story. Hogan was coming here doing a book tour or something, and I was governor at the time, and Vince calls me up.
Yeah.
And I'm in the governor's office, Vince McMahon. I said, what the hell is this about? So I pick up the phone, and here's Vince. Jesse, Hulk has written a book, but he's afraid to come to Minnesota because he thinks you'll have him arrested.
Why?
No, wait. So you know what I said to Vince? I said, Vince, tell this right to Terry. Tell Hogan this directly from me. Tell him I have more important things to do in my life as governor than worry about what the hell he's doing.
And his book.
I said, I don't care if he comes here to sign a book. What do you think? I have some vendetta? I'm going to send the state troopers down and put him in jail for what?
Now, if that Piper comes...
He got in that trouble here, though, with that woman. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he got in trouble with something or other. I don't know the details of it, but I couldn't believe Vince calls me up, though, and wants to clear the way so Hulk can come here for a book signing. And I said, I don't give a shit. I said, I have more important things to deal with than whether Hogan's signing a book here or not. I said, I run the state of Minnesota.
I run the state. Okay, so geez, this time is going so fast. I got a Twitter question from Nordic, Nordic Bells. And they asked this, and I've heard this from other people too. Is Jesse Ventura going to try to run for president of the United States of America?
Well, I have till 2016, and that would be the opportune moment, Roddy, because one thing I know in politics is this, as an independent like I am, you want to run when there's no incumbent.
Okay.
And in 2016, there will not be an incumbent because Barack Obama's done. He's done 2 terms, then he's gone. So that would be the opportune time to do it. I will just say this. I haven't made up my mind yet whether I will or won't, but I will tell you right now what I will run on so everyone knows. I will run on one major issue, and you know what that is?
What is it?
I will challenge the American people to elect the first president since George Washington, the father of our country, who does not belong to a political party.
Whoa.
And I'll tell you, Roddy, I think I could win on that alone.
You know, one of your statements when you were running for governor was it like something, don't vote for politics. Well, just a second, Jason. What'd you say? Hang on. Don't vote for politics as normal.
As usual.
As usual. Don't vote for. So it's the same thing.
Same thing. And Roddy, we've only had one president, George Washington, who does not belong to these 2 gangs.
Gotcha. Jesse, what do you think? What do you think of the state of what do you think of the state that America's in right now?
It's horrible. We're $17 trillion in debt. Who's responsible for that? The Democrats and Republicans. They've been in charge. They can't run from it. You notice how I put them together.
Yes.
See, when I run, they will be one entity. They won't be 2. They're the same thing.
You know, I saw...
when I taught at Harvard, one of my classes was how pro wrestling prepares you for politics, and I told the Harvard students, the Democrats and Republicans are identical to pro wrestling. In front of the cameras, they hate each other. Behind the scenes, they're all doing deals and going to dinner together.
I saw you and Willie Nelson say that exact same. You were visiting Willie on the bus and say that exact same thing. You know... And Roddy, I think that truthfully, with the way Congress right now has an 8% approval rating.
I believe that if you gave the American people the opportunity to elect a president that isn't from them two parties, I believe you could win on it.
Gotcha. Tell me this,
so if I do, that's what it'll be, and I know I'll have you in my corner.
Yes, sure. You buy him one. I'm your brother. Yeah, I take a bullet for you. I love everything about you. I want to.
In fact, what I'll do, Roddy, if I become the president,
yes,
I'll make you ambassador to Scotland.
Hot dog, you're on.
You can go back to your homeland and be the ambassador to Scotland.
I would do it in a second. I love you with all my heart, bud.
And I do it. Truthfully, I do it. If I become president, you get ready to move back to Scotland.
I love it. I'm all over.
And it won't be forever, because it'll be just while I'm president.
Oh, geez. You know, I was Twittering, and there's all kinds of different things going on, and you killed me, man. You killed me.
Well, I scare him to death, Roddy.
Yeah, you do, brother.
And I'll tell you this, whenever I start rattling my sword about running for national office, you ought to see the strange shit that starts happening then. Oh boy, there'll be publicity will come out on me that'll be all negative. I got accused one time of getting stopped by police officers by the Anaheim airport or something, Orange County Airport, and they took 3 squad cars. I hadn't been to California in 3 years, and I haven't flown in 5.
Gotcha, yeah.
But that was on TMZ one time, and I said, "What is this horse crap?"
Yeah. You know, I was this thing, and I'm not gonna. You're my brother, so I'm just, as we're talking here, I think that you'd make a great president. That said, we got this problem over with ISIS and all these things, and I said,
let me wrap it up quick for you. I stand with Rand Paul. I would pull us out of the Middle East. I would bring all our military home, and I would close our embassies in the Middle East and let them have at it. What a business is of ours to be over there. And if corporations want to be over there, let them hire Blackwater for security, not the United States military.
And my son, and many other people's daughters, and children.
Well, the point is, let me finish with this, Roddy. You remember Christopher Columbus?
Certainly.
The guy who allegedly discovered America for the Anglo-Saxon European?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was he doing? He was on a mission to find another route to India. That's why when he arrived here, he called the Native American Indians, because he thought he had arrived in India. He didn't realize there was this big continent in between. Now, at that time, science said you'd fall off the earth.
Yes.
Columbus was willing to fall off the earth, because why was he trying to find another way to India? They didn't want to go through the Middle East.
Okay.
Now, if he didn't want to do that 700 years ago, why are we doing it today?
That's why you're the gov, and I love the shit out of you, man.
I'm just tired of these wars, Roddy.
Yes.
I'm tired of the United States being at war, and if I run for president, we will not go to war unless we're attacked.
I love it. Jesse Ventura, I love you with all my heart. You know that. All
Thank
my
you,
love
Roddy.
from my family to your family. Catch that back 9 and on 8. Just seriously, I know how busy.
Same thing always back to you.
Thank
keep
you.
up the great work and keep talking, Roddy. We need people talking out there. Have a great day, and we'll do it again.
Thanks a lot, Gov. See you next time.
All right, bye-bye.
God bless you, man. Ow! That's it for Piper's Pit. We'll be back next week. That's just, they let me out of the asylum. I love you all. Boom, RoddyPiper.com.